A wild and crazy race weekend. Joe Samaniego here, along with Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, welcoming you to Grid Live Post Race. We definitely want to hear from everyone in the chat room. We want to hear your opinions, attempt to answer your questions. Definitely, because especially if you're a NASCAR fan, we know you're all talking about what happened today at Martinsville. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about Formula One, the grid ranking, and World Motorsport League. But first, we got to start with Martinsville NASCAR Xfinity 500.
Oh, holy moly, what a race. That race was intense from the time the green flag dropped all the way to the checkered flag coming out turn four between Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. That was insane. And for everyone who watched our pre-race program on Saturday, it was Joe and I were completely wrong when we were talking about Kevin Harvick in terms of security heading into the race. We were like, oh, Kevin Harvick, most dominant car of the year, he's going to be all right. He's going to advance to the championship four and he's going to go into Phoenix and win himself a championship. But to our surprise, Kevin Harvick is eliminated from championship contention, which is absolutely mind blowing considering the historic season that he's had. Kevin Hart has been the most dominant driver all year long. Definitely been the class of the field. Him and Rodney Childers have been clicking on all cylinders, and it's just really stunning that Kevin Harvick will not race for a championship next Sunday afternoon at Phoenix Raceway. Joe, are you just as shocked as I am? I mean, yesterday we were talking about how Kevin Harvick basically a lock to make it to the next round. All he had to do was score stage points and run consistent in the top 10, and he'll be good. But unfortunately, that didn't happen at all today for Kevin Harvick in the 14.
It didn't happen, and I am shocked, and definitely encourage all our viewers in the chat room. Tell us, are you shocked? Are you surprised? Or are you not surprised that you saw this coming? We want to hear from you. But definitely, I am just shocked because Kevin Harvick has always been seen as the closer. Comes off with these races where it seems when they're under pressure, they get the job done. But it really did not happen. It was like the one race where you have to come out with a good car, just put some solid, get some stage points. Stage points would have gotten them through. Good finish in the top 10, but it was just a dreadful day. It just went worse. And I really feel like, especially in this round, after Kansas, second place, everybody anticipated Texas are going to come out swinging. Bad luck, hit the wall, and it just seemed everything has just totally unraveled in that team. They just came out not ready, not prepared, and then bad luck with the tire going down. It still just seems unreal that Kevin Harvick's out. I always felt like they were just going to come back. They were going to get in. At the end, it looked like he was going to just barely get in, but that'll be enough of a motivator for Phoenix. But now he'll be in Phoenix. He could easily go for a win there, but not a championship.
Yeah, definitely. This entire situation has been crazy because, like many others, I thought Kevin Harvick was definitely going to be racing for a championship. I mentioned his historic season, all of the races that he's won, and how well his team has performed all season. And it's really crazy all of the factors that led up to this. Last weekend at Texas, he got into the wall and had issues. Had to try to fight his way back, and then Martinsville rolled off the truck wrong game and completely missed the setup from the start, and among other issues. And if you had to pick one race to completely miss it, this was not the one where you needed to completely miss the setup. And we've seen this happen all throughout the season since there's no practice and no qualifying, where we'll have drivers go out there, get in the car and just go without getting any practice time, not having any opportunity to get some practice laps in, so you'll be able to set your car up for the race and just line them up and go race. And I feel like this has certainly hurt a lot of teams this season. I felt like it hurt Kevin Harvick a lot today, and on social media, especially NASCAR Twitter, I've seen some of the comments the fans were saying they were absolutely fired up, and it was like a wide range of opinions. Some loved the intensity of this playoff cutoff race. It was really exciting in my opinion, and today with sports and entertainment, that's exactly what it is. It's entertainment, and that's exactly what this playoff format wants. And I think today this was NASCAR dream scenario for drama. Like, imagine the best driver of the entire season, Kevin Harvick, being eliminated from championship contention. And I'm sure a lot of people did not expect that to happen at all. And some did mention, really enjoying this format. because of the entertainment side. Yes, it's not really authentic, where you just have a where you have a season long points battle without any special gimmicks or anything like that. But but when you're looking at the entertainment part of it, that's really what sells nowadays. And if you're just going to run a season long championship, and with the championship locked up with, like, say, 3 or 4 races to go, then then you're not going to get that type of entertainment. But with this elimination style format, especially what happened on the very last lap on the last corner when Kevin Harvick tried to take a shot at Kyle Busch, ended up spinning out to 18, and Harvick ended up wrecking himself. That was almost his Ryan Newman, Kyle Larson moment from several years ago. And I'm sure all the fans out there remember that Ryan Newman made it to the championship four because he ended up putting Kyle Larson in the wall and sent him in there on purpose in order to advance to the championship round. And today we saw what Kevin Harvick was willing to do to make it. Joe, what do you think of the race, and especially that last lap incident between Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch?
This was, without a doubt, I think one of the most intense cutoff races in a really long time. For me personally, this reminded me of the first year of the elimination format in the playoffs, Talladega, when it was a cutoff race. I remember lap after lap, I was just on the edge of my seat, seeing what was going to happen. Martinsville today delivered lap after lap, trying to see where's Kevin Harvick, where's Denny Hamlin. At the point where Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and Brad Keselowski were all tied, that was ridiculous. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And it was just, NASCAR have always said, turn after turn, lap after lap, a new twist. Today definitely had that. It was just one of the most intense races. Martinsville, I think, put on a really good race. And I think going into this race, I thought it was going to be something crazy. Martinsville, first year as a cutoff race. We've seen in the past where they're beating and banging across the finish line, wrecking across the finish line on that last lap. We didn't exactly see that, but we did see Kevin Harvick try to make a move, spin out Kyle Busch. Had that worked out and Kevin Harvick got into championship four, we'll be talking about him running for a championship. But it backfired. He wrecked himself out. Tough break for, of course, the number 4 car. It's really something else to see their season come to an end like that. But this is what NASCAR wanted. And especially, you bring up a good point, entertainment value. Especially in the United States here, NASCAR, they're competing against the National Football League, the NBA, Major League Baseball. A lot of competition, and they need something to make it where, with those sports, their postseason brings in crowds traditionally, season-long format. You see the end of the season sort of, okay, the interest fades away, especially we have a driver dominating, wrap up the championship early. This format, it really ensures that it's going to build up the intensity, and that last race is the big race to draw everybody in.
Yeah, and Kevin Harvick also, it might be a good thing he didn't make it to the championship round, because if it spun Kyle Busch out and Kevin Harvick would have gotten in, that next week probably would have been a long Sunday for Kevin Harvick, because I'm sure Kyle Busch would definitely be looking for some payback there. And yeah, talking about this playoff format, a lot of fans were up in the air about this. Some really loved it, and some really don't like this at all, because they feel like that the integrity of the sport is at stake here, because you're not rewarding the best driver you're not rewarding the best driver for the season long championship. And some people did cite in other sports. I understand people don't really like the stick and ball comparisons, but one example I see common in stuff like this is the 2007 New England Patriots. For all our NFL fans out there, in 2007, this Patriots team went undefeated, won every single game until they met Eli Manning and the New York Giants in the Super Bowl, and then the New York Giants upset the undefeated New England Patriots. And I think with this playoff format, stuff like that just happens. Unfortunately, it's just the game. Yeah, don't blame the player, blame the game, because that's just the way the system is set up. Yeah, if it was possible, although not possible to do this in today's day and age, Kevin Harvick could have went out there and won the first 35 races of the year. He could have gone 35-0. Speaking hypothetically here, not realistically. Yeah, what I'm saying, Kevin Harvick, 35-0, go down to the final race at Phoenix and lose it all. Yeah, and I'm sure if that happened, there would be much more outrage on social media and throughout the industry about about that potential situation, but with the way this championship format is, the possibility of that can happen. You can go out there, sweep the first 35 races, have a blown tire in the championship race, and you lose the championship. And unfortunately, Kevin Harvick, with the great season he's had, not going to Phoenix to compete for a championship. He'll Phoenix is one of his better tracks, and he can go out there end the season on a high note with the win. But it's definitely not the same as winning the championship. And today's race in Martinsville was, very chaotic. Probably a lot more chaotic than we all expected. And I remember we talked about this a little bit on the Grid Live pre-race show. Do you still think that Martinsville is the perfect cutoff race, or just way too crazy? In my opinion, I think it's a great cutoff race, and I don't want NASCAR to change this anytime soon.
I would agree with you. I feel it's a good cutoff race. Where in Talladega, you had the big pack when it was a cutoff race. We saw how somebody else's mess could get you in trouble and ruin your race. Here, it's really down to the driver. It's not being the right place in the right time if there's a big one like a Dega. Here, we saw drivers like Ryan Blaney. Good car, great ride, took second place. Everyone had a really good shot at it. Kurt Busch was running up front. This was different than a mile and a half oval where sometimes you will see 3 to 4 vehicles up front all day, unless there was a major shakeup like a late yellow strategy. Usually that's how the race would run. Here, a lot of beating and banging. The drivers were the first 70, 60 laps leading up to that competition caution, the playoff drivers were just racing each other really hard, and this was just building up to the end. And we didn't see anything as crazy as like the year where essentially we saw Logano and Truex beating across the finish line. It wasn't as crazy as when we saw just about everyone in the field wrecking behind the winner car. The first year they had the lights at Martinsville, but it was just, I feel it was just a good amount of intensity, and that's the big thing. The intensity of this race really kept viewers glued in. It kept me glued in, and definitely, I think especially the action, that fact that if you have a good car and things are going good, you could put yourself for a win. Eric Jones, we saw Denny Hamlin upset at his teammate Eric Jones that Eric Jones could be the deciding factor if he made it into the next round. So definitely, it was just, I think it definitely delivered overall as a cutoff race.
And I'm glad you brought up that last incident there about about Eric Jones and Denny Hamlin. It's easy to understand why Denny Hamlin was really upset at his teammate Eric Jones because Denny at the time he was in danger of dropping out of the playoff picture in the championship four, and he's wondering like, why is Eric Jones racing me so hard here, and not cutting me any slack. And and like you said, I was glued on the edge of my seat in those final laps because I was wondering, since Eric Jones is racing Denny Hamlin so hard, I was thinking, is Eric Jones really going to pass Denny Hamlin and eliminate his own teammate from the playoffs? I felt like if that would have happened, there would have been a lot of outrage and anger within the Joe Gibbs Racing organization, and also from the fans as well. But also, you have to look at the other perspective. Eric Jones only has one more race with this number 20 team before Christopher Bell takes that ride. And as we all know, Eric Jones is going to be going to Richard Petty Motorsports next year. So when you're looking at the big picture at the moment, Eric Jones he doesn't have anything to lose at all. So might as well just go out there and just race as hard as he can because just one more race he's only going to be teammates with Denny. So basically Eric Jones is racing for himself right now. And looking at the championship four heading into Phoenix, we have Joey Logano, today's winner Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Brad Keselowski. And it really does seem like when you're looking at Chase Elliott, he's taken a big step forward in his racing career. We've seen Chase not be able to put together some of these big moments so far, and I feel like today that Chase Elliott took a huge step forward because he came in clutch today. One, needed to win to make it to Phoenix, and he's going to be competing for a championship. Do you think Chase Elliott has the most momentum heading into Phoenix? And do you also agree with me that he's taken a huge step forward in his career?
By far, this is a huge step forward in his career compared to when he first started, and he was just always so close to that first win, but never got it. Then he got the win. He started to always get wins here and there, but always seems missed opportunities for more wins. Today, almost a missed opportunity, especially when the Jackman came out of the wall too early. Big heads up thinking for that Jackman to realize his mistake, put his leg on the wall, and again, save the team from starting way in the back for a penalty. That was big time moment for the team. Chase Elliott just came through the field from that power pit stop, got the lead, and he was just controlling it, came in clutch today. If he does that next weekend at Phoenix, he's going to be hard to beat. But he's going to have a very hard group of drivers to beat. Joey Logano, he's going to be good there. Denny Hamlin has success there at Phoenix. Brad Keselowski, don't count him out. I mean, this is going to be, I think, one of the more intense Final Fours we're going to see in NASCAR. Each of these drivers are capable of winning. And really surprising, of course, with Chase Elliott being in there, that means we do have a Chevrolet in there. So it will be something else if Chevrolet, Chase Elliott was to somehow come away with the championship. I think that would be a big surprise for everybody.
Yeah, I think this group in the championship four it's really hard to pick a winner right now because all four of those drivers are pretty decent at Phoenix out there in the desert. Joey Logano won at Phoenix earlier this year before the pandemic. Brad Keselowski strong there as well. So are Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott. So I definitely think that is going to be one of those dogfights out there. They're gonna battle it out really hard for this championship. And based on the race we saw in the spring at Phoenix, I think we're definitely in for a barn burner because that race was so exciting. And I think with the championship on the line, that intensity is going to rise about 5 or 6 notches. You're muted.
I definitely agree. It's going to have to be one of those championship four races where I'm just really pumped about this. I feel some past years, the race has been championship four, and it just sort of feel like, okay, these are the best four, especially when it was the big three and Logano. I feel like, okay, it was going to be one of those big threes, but then Logano made the big surprise, got the win. Here, this round has been really surprising now thinking about it, just because you had Logano, the fifth seed, coming into this round, gets the win. Here we come to Texas, surprise winner, Kyle Busch out of the playoffs. And then here we come to Martinsville. I know we talked about, could Alex Bowman win here? Hendrick is really good. We said probably not, but definitely don't count out Chase Elliott. Well, Chase Elliott shows up and essentially goes out, gets the win. I think it's going to be one of the best Final Fours we're going to see in a long time in NASCAR. Now, of course, besides NASCAR, we definitely had some Formula One racing. Of course, Formula One, much different point structure compared to NASCAR. And big time racing up here, we saw a lot going on. A lot of drivers also having bad luck as well, too. Pierre Gasly started fourth place. He even had an Ayrton Senna inspired helmet approved by the Senna Foundation. Fourth place in qualifying, was looking for a good race, but then had engine trouble. Essentially, with the engine troubles, he was done for the day. Good luck, though, was definitely on Lewis Hamilton's side. He was behind Bottas. Then, of course, Max Verstappen takes a pit stop. Valtteri Bottas makes a pit stop, and then damage he had picked up from lap 2 while leading, he started falling back. And sure enough, we see Lewis Hamilton just right before he was going to make a pit stop. The safety car comes out. That relieves a lot of pressure on the pit crew. Make that pit stop, go on essentially untouched. And it was just one of those races where, again, Lewis Hamilton, win number 92. He was perfect. Multiple drivers were just making mistakes. We're not on their form, really. Lance Stroll, of course, Racing Point, no pace. First lap, got damaged, fell back. Valtteri Bottas picked up damage, as I mentioned, on lap 2. Sebastian Vettel, not a factor at all. Because everyone, especially if anybody wants to present any challenge to Lewis Hamilton, how much do they have to step it up for next year?
Oh, they need to step it up about 10 notches because Lewis Hamilton is in a zip code of his own. At the moment, I don't really see anybody who can mount a challenge to Lewis Hamilton. I think honestly, for anybody else to really have a shot at winning the F1 championship right now, they either need Lewis Hamilton to retire completely or move to a new series like Scott McLaughlin left supercars to go to IndyCar. Yeah, and I'm sure down under those drivers are really happy to see Scott McLaughlin going away because now they're gonna have a better chance at winning the championship. So I think with Formula One, that is gonna be really hard for them to beat Lewis Hamilton next year as well, unless he just decides to step away or try out a new form of racing.
I have to agree, especially Red Bull. I mean, we saw Max Verstappen got around Valtteri Bottas. Next year, they're going to be in really good shape, but they have to get rid of the mistakes. Of course, Max Verstappen wasn't a factor at the end of the race. He spun out with a tire failure. Alex Albon on a restart spun out, took himself out of contention. They pitted to try to get the fastest lap, wasn't able to. No points for Red Bull. Mercedes, now a 7-time constructor champion. Kobe, how great is this Mercedes team in this era of Formula One? And the second part of the question, if Red Bull wants to contend in 2021, how much better do they need to be, and where could they really improve to mount any effort against Mercedes?
When looking at the Mercedes Formula One team, I think when we look back on this era, we're gonna look at this Mercedes team as one of the best teams in the history of motorsports because this level of domination is absolutely insane. Mercedes has been the top dog in Formula One for quite a few years now in the hybrid area, and when we move into a new era of Formula One in 2022, it's gonna be interesting to see if Mercedes is still gonna remain that dominant team or they're gonna fall a little. They're gonna still be a front runner, but have more competition in the front. Or they're gonna fall to the midfield or completely go to the back. Yeah, and it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens there. But I do think that although I'm sure a lot of people are getting tired of the Mercedes domination, that this is something that we should appreciate and respect right now because someday this what we're witnessing right now in Mercedes is incredible and something that will probably never be duplicated replicated ever again. And answer your question about Red Bull, in order to get better, I really hate to say this, but I feel like Alex Albon's spin, that was the last straw for him. I really don't foresee him coming back to Red Bull now. And I think in order to get better, they're probably gonna have to make a change in the driver lineup. And it's probably either going to be Nico Hulkenberg or Sergio Perez as Max Verstappen's teammate. I just think that was the absolute last straw for Alex Albon.
Yeah, Alex Albon spinning out. That I feel was definitely going to be a moment where Red Bull was just like, we can't do this anymore. Rest of the season, of course, but next year, I would be really shocked if Alex Albon is in that seat next year. Now you bring up Sergio Perez. Yesterday, we said Sergio Perez and Daniel Kvyat. The two of them have to use this race as sort of an audition. Sergio started 11th, was up to 4th place. He inherited 3rd place after Max Verstappen spun, but pitted on that safety car, which was a bit of a surprise. Of course, that dropped him back. Many, of course, were watching Daniel Kvyat, especially since we saw his teammate Pierre Gasly go out of the race. He still qualified in the top 10, of course. He passed Alex Albon, passed Charles Leclerc on a really good pass on the restart, got himself 4th place. Did both of them deliver a performance to essentially try to get a second chance in Formula One next year?
Well, I think for Sergio Perez, I think although Sergio Perez the finish wasn't what he hoped for. I do think that Perez definitely showed why he's still capable of holding a Formula One drive. As for Danny Kvyat, I really don't see him on the grid at all next season. I don't know if his Formula One career is over for good, but I really have a hard time imagining him returning to AlphaTauri. I think that seat is going to go to Yuki Tsunoda, the star F2 driver, or Red Bull is going to place Alex Albon there and give him one more chance to show what he can do in Formula One.
Yeah, one more shot at Formula One is looking very slim for both of them. Of course, for Sergio Perez, if something was to happen, it might be in that Red Bull vehicle. But of course, we got Nico Hulkenberg sitting on the sidelines. He would love to get back as well. Lewis Hamilton now has his sights set on essentially wrapping up the Drivers' Championship. Max Verstappen eliminated from contention as we approach the Turkish Grand Prix. Now, of course, recently news came out that the United Kingdom is going to be in a shutdown starting Thursday through December 3rd. Premier Sports are allowed to continue on, especially since they have strict testing protocols Formula One says they're intended to continue on. Is there still concerns though with the situation? We have 4 races left. We're essentially the last race is on December 13th. Is there still some serious concerns that the season may not be finished by the time we get to December 13th?
I'm really hopeful that Formula One is going to be able to complete the season, but still in the back of your mind, you have to worry about this situation because the number of COVID-19 cases really escalating in Europe as well here in the United States. So lucky that NASCAR is going to be ending the season next week because otherwise, if we had to go deeper into the season, I don't know if we'd finish, to be honest with you. But with Formula One, hopefully they can get everybody to adhere to the protocols. You know, try not to put themselves out there at risk. You know, doing dangerous activities like go to a Halloween party with 100 people, not wearing masks and no social distancing. That would be really stupid during a time like this. But but it seems like for the most part, Formula One is doing a great job with its testing protocols, make sure the virus is not spreading in the paddock. I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic that Formula One is still going to be able to finish out the season. But this is definitely something that you want to keep in the back of your mind because this is a fluid situation. Things always changing, and with the pandemic getting much worse, not just in Europe, the United Kingdom, just all over the world. And a lot of people who work in Formula One, whether it's drivers, team, media, they a lot of them live over in the UK, and their shutdown is definitely going to have a great effect on their lives.
Definitely a big effect. Of course, we'll be following it as well. Definitely want to encourage our viewers watching, participate in the chat room. Ask us your questions about whether it's Formula One, especially if you have questions or opinions on the NASCAR race, the Xfinity 500. We'll try our best to get through all the questions and share your opinions right here on the air. Now it's time for some news updates in regard to grid ranking and World Motorsport League.
Yeah, we're almost at the end of our program, but let's take a quick look at this. Yeah. When looking at the grid ranking for week 26, Lewis Hamilton gains on Scott McLaughlin. And here's the big thing: if Lewis Hamilton wins the Turkish Grand Prix from pole, he will take the lead. Still a win, even if not from pole. Will close the gap. And in the Grid World Motorsport League, Lewis Hamilton now has 21.34, and Phil Hansen is at 22.50. So very close in those two rankings.
Very close in both rankings. Of course, both of them, we encourage everyone, World Motorsport League, to follow at grid underscore WML on Twitter and the grid ranking at grid ranking on Twitter. And visit our website, gridranking.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We definitely encourage everyone to follow us on YouTube. We got a lot of great programming, including our latest episode of Life on the Grid. Kobe, can you tell everyone about our latest episode?
Oh yeah, we had staff writer Seth Egger from Kicking the Tires come on our show, the October episode of Life on the Grid, and during the program we talked about a lot of great things. Seth covers NASCAR and eNASCAR. Yeah, we talked about motorsports journalism during a global pandemic with the restricted media access on site and adapting to to a mostly virtual world. And eNASCAR's growing popularity and why it can open doors for you professionally. More importantly, we talked about a real touching story about Seth and his mom. Although it's not a racing related topic, both Joe and I feel like it was definitely the most important part of the show, especially, just listening to Seth sit down, be completely open about something that most people wouldn't feel comfortable talking about. And I really enjoyed and admire Seth for everything he talked about and the relationship with his mom and all of the things that those two have experienced together, have been through some real tough times. Despite all the ups and the downs, really touches our hearts here at Grit Network to see how much Seth cares about his mom, and he's willing to do anything to make sure that she has everything that she needs and she's cared for. Our initial viewers truly enjoyed this particular story because it displays love, commitment, especially perseverance. And I'm not going to spoil anything for the viewers who haven't seen the episode yet, but I will say that it's a story that you absolutely do not want to miss. And we also had musical guests on there, Lady Kazoo and the Bunny Palooza.
Definitely an episode not to miss. It was a lot of fun, very heartwarming story listening to Seth doing everything he can for his family, and it was just highly recommend for everyone. Of course, you can find that on our YouTube. So if you're watching us on Facebook or on Periscope Twitter, definitely visit YouTube, Grid Network. You'll find us. We're at 109 subscribers. A big thank you to everyone to help us get over 100 this past Saturday. Wednesday, Grid Tonight. I know Kobe and I will be reporting on all the latest news around motorsports. Definitely is going to be one of the big episodes talking about the Championship 4 and, of course, more reaction from Martinsville. Thursday, Grid Girls. This is where we highlight all the women racing around the world in different motorsports. Of course, we have a lot of women racing this past weekend. We'll be reporting that and the upcoming weekend. And then Saturday, Grid Live pre-race. We got an exciting show. We're going to be previewing the Final Four in the NASCAR Cup Series. And of course, we also have MotoGP as well. We'll have Jessica from Paddock Insight joining us. And we definitely like to ask everyone, if possible, please consider joining our Patreon. Right now, we have one Patreon. Your investment in us ensures that we keep growing, expanding our coverage of everything motorsports. We definitely want to give a big shout out to Colin for being our first Patreon, believing in the product we do, because at the end, we're doing this for you, the viewers, to bring you more motorsports news, more motorsports coverage, and allowing you the opportunity to interact with us on the air. I know we're just about out of time, but definitely when it comes to the NASCAR race, any final thoughts when it comes to the NASCAR race we saw today, Kobe?
Oh, it was absolutely wild, and especially to me. The one moment I'm going to take away from this weekend is the question is, what are you willing to do to compete and win for a championship? And that's exactly what we saw with Kevin Harvick today. Kevin Harvick, it was really bad right from the start. Just didn't roll off right from the truck. Completely missed the setup. Didn't had a bunch of issues. And Kevin fought his way back, 1 point out, and thought his the best way to secure his spot in a championship four next week was to dive bomb Kyle Busch and just send him spinning. And unfortunately for Harvick, when he sent Kyle Busch spinning, he spun himself out and hit the inside wall on the front stretch. So yeah, and Kevin did admit